Welcome, everyone. This is SatiSeva, reimagining recovery and support. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. SatiSeva is an affinity group associated with Recovery Dharma. And one of the things that I noticed on the Recovery Dharma website is that it's all about deepening mindfulness practice. And that is true. It is also, however, an approach to recovery that I feel quite passionate about, and that is to level the playing field, to recognize that habit energy, what people call addiction, is very human. We all have it. It manifests in many, many different ways. For some people, it comes in the form of the misuse and abuse of drugs and alcohol. For other people, it's a negative relationship with food. For other people, it could be a challenging relationship with work. For some people, it is the way the mind obsesses and perseverates and gets stuck and loops. All of this are different manifestations of habit energy. And mindfulness, the Buddhist practices of sati, of mindfulness, and the qualities that we can cultivate by exploring Buddhist practices and principles is a wonderful way of looking at habit energy in general. I know from my own experiences that there can be two different habits of mine that impact one another. So, for example, when I'm stressed and when my thoughts get into an obsessing, racing mode, something within me mindlessly, unconsciously wants to soothe myself from that angst. And often my go to is sugar. I just immediately reach for it. And sugar right now in my aging body is really, really dangerous. It is a source of great inflammation and discomfort for me. And so I really have to look at both that craving to self soothe, but also the underlying stress and those racing thoughts. And I find for me, one of the most powerful ways of getting at that and really getting underneath it and on its side and at different angles is the practice of mindfulness. So I created 16 different mindfulness practices inspired by the work of Thich Nhat Hanh. And together, that's what makes the SatiSeva approach. Today, in September, we are going to be exploring the mindfulness practice of grief. This is the 14th practice in the whole series, and it is a mind practice. There are 3 different categories: spirit, body, and mind. And while I've separated those categories in the approach, they overlap, they complement one another, and they're also standalone practices. I'm very excited to show you that we have a book. So the book was published, and I am impatiently waiting for our order to come in. And this is available on our website now for pre-order. And starting in January, we're going to be going through the book and starting over. Today, I am going to bring forward a couple of things regarding grief. What I'd like to do is invite you all into a noble posture. And I'd like to begin our practice today setting an intention. We are here to look at grief, and maybe you've got something in your mind that's like, well, I don't know if that really relates to me. Nobody's died that I know of. And grief as a mindfulness practice is a much broader exploration. So I would encourage you to just sit with that. Grief is more than just the loss of life and living in the space, the absence of that life. Grief incorporates anything that is not happening in the way that we want it to. And it can come disguised as disappointment and frustration, annoyance, hurt, longing. There are so many expressions, so many faces of grief. So let's set our intention. And I have a beautiful bowl of intention cards. Ooh, I love this one. I haven't chosen this one in a long time. This one was painted by Lynn, one of our Sangha members who lives in Montana. And I really love it. She's a very good friend. And it reads, "May you choose it all. May you choose it all." Easier said than done. And supporting the spirit of choice, because sometimes what we are confronted with choosing doesn't feel like a choice. We feel forced. I have felt forced. I have felt resigned and surrendered. I don't know that I have intentionally chosen the things that have caused the greatest struggles in my life. They have arisen, they have appeared. I have resented them and hated them, resisted some of these struggles. I have fought with them and raged. And in the end, as I'm going through that, all along that journey, I do see little opportunities of choice. So, for instance, a struggle has appeared in my life, and it has stirred a deep-seated rage within me that kind of shocks me, actually. And one of the choices that I have is to pretend I don't feel rage. What kind of spiritual person am I to feel rage? And I choose to feel that rage because I want to learn from it. I want to understand it. I want to know it. Hello, rage. Wow, you are a hot, heavy teacher. What am I supposed to learn from you today? I have a choice to look at my actions and reactions in association with rage. Because rage, if unchecked, creates a fiery ember in my throat that can come out of my mouth. And because I'm a writer, I'm really sharp with words, which means I have the capacity to use them as weapons and cause hurt, especially if I allow rage to be in the driver's seat of my life. And I choose not to. So, in order for me to not have rage and to not create conditions of grief as a result of rage driving my life, I have to make other choices. And as I lean into rage and as a response to a struggle, I experience fear. I encounter grief. And grief for me often is holding hands with confusion. So there's so many different pathways that I can go. I can take the road of rage. I can go down and explore fear and confusion. I can look at frustration and grief. And as I stand and look at all of these pathways as if I'm in the woods of my youth and a large pathway is branching off in all different directions, I tell myself, Julia, darling, choose it all. You don't have to wander the whole path, but go take a couple of steps down each. See what you see. Notice what you notice. Come back to the main path of yourself, of your life. Take stock, write it down. So let's do that. And we're going to do this practice in the spirit of a metta practice. Metta is loving kindness. And the metta practice traditionally is you start with yourself and you say a mantra, some kind of phrase that's easy and simple that you can repeat. May I be at ease. And then you start to think about someone that you really love. May you be at ease. And then you start to think about somebody that you don't know, maybe the barista who made your coffee, or somebody you sat next to in traffic, or whomever, just any person, a stranger on the street. May you be at ease. And then you try to imagine somebody with whom you're having a struggle, a challenge. May you be at ease. And the reason why we create a neutral environment, wishing everyone the loving kindness of ease, is this is about putting everybody on the same playing field. All human beings want to know ease. No one wants to suffer, and yet we all do. So for this practice, I would like to establish loving kindness just for ourselves. And that might churn something within you. And if it does, notice, just would you look at that? One of our instruments of peace, like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of uncomfortable. I don't know if I can wish myself ease and peace. I'm uncomfortable with that. And that's good. Just stick with it. And then let's drop into our consciousness experiences, even qualities, thoughts, grief. Put yourself on a path, literally in your mind. And it could be any kind of path. Let your imagination have some fun. I really love the pathways along the beach in the dunes with the sharp dune grass and the waxy plants. I also love pathways in forests. And I really enjoy pathways made by deer in the prairie where I live. And notice branching off your path. Thoughts, experiences, feelings associated with your grief. And when these arise, when you become aware, just take a breath and simply acknowledge that awareness with, may this take on some ease. May I have some ease about this. You may be grieving the death of someone, and that's a pretty heavy manifestation of grief. You may be grieving a regret in a relationship, harm, and unskillful conduct. That is also heavy and challenging. So, my encouragement, if you are led in that direction, is don't go too far, just a step or two, just enough to acknowledge I have participated in creating the conditions of hurt, and I'm grieving that, and I regret it, and I'm sorry. May I infuse this with a little ease and breathe and repeat it. May I infuse what's arising for me with ease. This is not a practice of entertaining our excuses, our reasons, the way we intellectualize, rationalize. Those are all on the outskirts. And if you find those thoughts entering in, well, I did that because it's very, very normal to do. Don't worry, it will happen. It's almost like it's in the air. All you need to do is, I see you. I'm not exploring you right now. May that arising have some ease. And then bring yourself back to whatever it is you're grieving. I'm grieving some unskillful conduct. May I infuse that situation with some ease. Friends, I'd like to offer a gentle seed for you to put in your pocket or in the back of your mind or in a very soft place in the heart. And this is the seed of shame. And shame is a very, very difficult emotion and virtue to work with, but we're choosing it all, remember? And that means we have to include this very difficult, challenging feeling and experience. Just like we have very difficult and challenging people in our lives, we have very difficult and challenging feelings and thoughts and experiences too. Shame is one of them. And within shame, woven in this very, very challenging and complex experience is grief. I have felt great shame in my life. I have felt ashamed, rightly so, for misconduct in my life. I have hurt people that I love, and I am ashamed about it. And I wish I had had different skills at that time. I would have behaved differently, but I don't. I didn't at that time. I had the skills I had. There are two instruments of peace that are so helpful when working with really challenging feelings like grief, like shame. The first one is that's true and not the whole truth. I had the skills that I had when I was a younger version of myself. And because I had unrefined skills, I was unrefined in my practice and in my reaction and responses to other people. And it created the conditions for harm and hurt for which I am ashamed. The truth is, that's true. And the truth is, I have taken that experience and I have fearlessly explored it. And I have learned and matured and grown from it. And I have not repeated those mistakes. So the second instrument of peace is when I have those memories, when they come forward for me, I gently remind myself, Julia, this, however, what I'm thinking about right now, in this moment, this is not that. I am not reliving that experience. I'm simply remembering it. And what I'm bringing to the memory is a new skill set, a new perspective, years of practice and training and perspective. I'm not the same person. This is not that. While shame may be coming up, it's not the same thing. This is a different moment. And so I don't have to be intimidated by it. I don't have to be diminished or sunken by it. In fact, I can feel empowered, bold, curious to look at it. Why is the memory of that shameful experience coming up for me right now? What am I supposed to learn? I choose it. And I choose not to let it be in the driver's seat of my life. It may be true, but it is not the truth of who I am as a whole sentient being. And you, my friends, are just like me. So what is true for you is also not the whole truth. And you get to choose what is in the driver's seat of your life. And may it be your loving kindness, your self-compassion and acceptance, your equanimous nature, your wisdom, and your extraordinary creativity and curiosity. I'd like to see more drivers of that. Let's come together as a community and end this practice, taking a deep breath and repeating a mantra to ourselves. May I infuse this experience with ease. Breathing in, ease. Breathing out, ease. Thank you, friends. Now, okay. This is a time where we can just take a moment. And we're not even going to take it. Let's just have this moment and celebrate this moment to reflect briefly and integrate all of the wisdom that was shared here today. And one of the things that I want to emphasize, and I really take this to heart, and that is the journey of recovering one's whole self is deeply personal. So, what my path looks like is going to be very different than what yours looks like. And both are right. Both can be good. Both have the capacity for sacred paradox to arise where there's goodness and badness, there's light and there's dark. And it's going to be different for everyone. And so we really do have to strengthen and mature those aspects of us that feel worn down, beaten down, really diminished, to be able to stand in our own agency and say, this is what's working for me. And I am the driver of my life. So, what works for one person, that's great. Celebrate that. May you have ease on your journey. That would not work for me. And I know that about myself. And it doesn't reflect a flaw. In fact, it reflects agency. And I'm going to own what works for me. And the grief of that is sometimes it can have a negative impact on our connections and our relationships because other people don't understand. They're not in the place of practice, maybe, to understand. And so, how do we create an environment, create some conditions where there's space for a loved one, a friend to not understand where I'm at, and we can still love them, we can still stay connected, but different. And that's what we're going to explore the next time we meet, following Sunday. And we're going to talk about when we're connected with somebody and when there's misunderstanding. And because it goes both ways, where we've hurt someone and we've been hurt. And today we really got this wonderful these nuggets of wisdom to be able to say to somebody, ow, that hurt. When you threw that at me, that hurt. And it really challenges the notion of don't take anything personally. That's another one of those things that's true. And the truth is, it risks becoming spiritually bypassed because some things are personal. You hit me, I'm the ow, that's personal. You've just invaded my personal space, and it is not okay. And that reminder of don't take anything personally is almost like saying, don't feel what you're feeling. And nobody gets to tell me that. I get to feel whatever I'm feeling. And I also get to decide what's driving my life. And through this practice, I get to determine that who I want in the driver's seat isn't something immature, unpracticed, unskillful. I know what those things are. I want skill and practice and someone, a version of myself that's contemplative and mature and wise and compassionate. So we end this meditation today with choosing it all and infusing all of it with the spirit of ease. Let's take that in. Let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. For anybody who is new to the Buddhist practice, it's very, very common to begin to kind of bookend the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, with an intention, and then to end the practice with a dedication. So we began our practice choosing it all. And let's dedicate this practice to versions of ourselves still alive within us that fear some of those choices, that grieve some of those choices, that feels a little wobbly and insecure about some of those choices. And may we take a moment to acknowledge that. And with the power of our breath and presence, we can breathe ease toward those versions of ourselves still doubting, still insecure, still experiencing moments of unconsciousness. And then let's extend it out into the world. Let's dedicate this effort and this practice today to anyone lost by having confusion in the driver's seat, by having active addiction in the driver's seat, by having aversion, afflicted states of mind, adolescent ways of being driving the forces of their lives. May we dedicate this effort out into the world and may it find them and breathe in them a little bit of ease. And in the spaciousness of ease, may we feel the spirit of peace. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for practicing and sharing yourselves. You bless this space in ways too many to count. We'll see you next time. Namaste.